Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Football Fanatics Weekly. In this week's episode, we're going to discuss how Man United beat Liverpool and also how West Brom seems like for sure they're going down now. Arsenal finally get back to winning ways, and Spurs also keep winning. I'm Hugh Hayner, as always, joined by my colleague, Mr. Garrett Ettinger. Garrett, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, Hugh. How are you?
I'm doing great. So let's dive right in and talk about Liverpool and Man United. Is this one of Mourinho's best results as a Man United coach?
Yeah, I think it is, actually. I think it's really good that in this game and in the game they recently played against Chelsea, that he's kind of starting to show that he can win bigger games with this Manchester United team. I think that's been kind of one of his big criticisms, I guess, that people have levied against him as Manchester United boss, is that, he wins all the smaller games and he's very pragmatic, but when he comes up against the bigger teams, he always gets outclassed. Well, that didn't really happen in this game, right? So I think that's definitely a big win for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a really big win as far as their position in the league table as well. That gives them a nice cushion over second place, gives them an even bigger cushion over Chelsea in fifth place. So, yeah, I think this is really good for United. It's been a while since they've gotten a win over Liverpool. Recently, they've had quite a few draws. Classic Mourinho against a big team. But yeah, as you said, recently they've been pulling out against the bigger sides. They've gone a little bit more attacking, a little bit more aggressive, and it's paid off pretty well. Yeah. So in this game, you have to say, I think United had the better chances throughout this game. I mean, this game easily could have been, 3 or 4-1.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think it was kind of interesting that Liverpool didn't really, they had the majority of the possession and they made some attacks, but it never really looked like they were going to come to something, right?
Right.
Whereas with Manchester United, you sort of felt a little bit more like when they got the ball, when possession changed at certain moments, you thought, there could be an opportunity here for them to take a shot at goal. So I definitely think you're right that Manchester United had the better shooting opportunities. I was also pretty impressed with Romelu Lukaku's performance. To get the flick on for both of the goals, I think was pretty good. And obviously, people say about Lukaku as well that he doesn't show up in big games, right? But obviously he got 2 important flick-ons in this game. He got a goal and an assist in the comeback win against Chelsea. Do you think that those accusations are unfounded now? Because it seems like he's really trying to prove people wrong.
Yeah, I think so. I think before, you could maybe say he doesn't turn up with the goals in the bigger games, but even before the Chelsea and Liverpool game, he had that assist against Tottenham to win the game for Martial earlier in the year. He doesn't always turn up with the goals, but he seems to be putting in consistent good performances even against the bigger sides. Obviously, against City earlier this year, not his best game. But aside from that, and especially recently, he's been turning up. He's really, he's answering his questions from the critics, and he's been doing really well. I think United are getting what they paid for, and I think we're seeing that, consistency now. Even when he's not scoring, like Mourinho always says, he puts in great performances even when he doesn't score, and I think he's right.
Yeah.
let's talk about Marcus Rashford for a second as well. Sort of since Sanchez has come in, I don't think he's had a start, and he's kind of just been, he comes in at the end of games maybe sometimes, and yeah, finishes out the games for Martial or for Sanchez or something. But with injuries to Pogba, injuries to Martial, Rashford gets the start, and he proves everyone wrong about, there were questions maybe about his England place or whether he should leave United. I think Rashford is, he's an unbelievably talented 20-year-old, and I think United would be very foolish to let him go, and I don't think they will. What did you think about Marcus Rashford in this game, and about Marcus Rashford going forward as well?
I thought his performance was really good. It was good to see the way that he, the attacking positions that he took up, right? Mm-hmm. That he kind of understood that, when David De Gea sends a goal kick down the field, Lukaku's going to be the one who's going to try to get the flick on. So I need to be in a position to run on to that, or I need to be in a follow-up position to somebody else who is running onto that, right? Like he did for the second goal. And he took the goals really well. I saw an interview that Jose Mourinho did shortly after the game where people asked him about Marcus Rashford. And his response was basically that Marcus Rashford's been doing really well in training, right? And people don't see that except for Mourinho, basically. So I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. With Mourinho saying, about how he's doing well in training, I think it just shows his desire and his hunger, and I think he's one of the most direct players in league and maybe even in the world. Like when he gets the ball, he just goes, and exactly what you're gonna get, and he just runs straight at defenders, and that makes it very difficult to defend against. And I really love his directness. Earlier in the season, a few months ago, we talked about player development under Mourinho and how players aren't developing quite as much. But now maybe we're seeing that development with some of the younger players, with Martial, with Lingard, with Rashford. All three of them are in double-digit goals now. I think that's something that's pretty impressive, and I think we got to give Mourinho a little bit of credit there, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So for the Liverpool perspective, then, what happened in this game?
I think they struggled to break Manchester United down a little bit when they had possession. I think Manchester United were really disciplined, and Liverpool just couldn't quite deal with that. I think that Liverpool, they had a couple of decent chances, right? But it just seemed like they lacked the spark, I guess. I don't know what else to tell you. Maybe it's because they go to Old Trafford and it's big and it's kind of it's an away game at one of their biggest rivals, and they just get a little bit nervous and they're not quite on their game. But it just seemed like they weren't quite getting the last little bit of skill that they need to score goals.
Yeah, I think so. It wasn't that necessarily they had a bad attacking performance. It was just it was just that last little bit that they needed to create the chance or something was just lacking there. And United did defend quite well. I was really impressed with Ashley Young and the way he kept Salah at bay. We hardly heard Salah's name in this game. He hardly touched the ball. Yeah. Do you think maybe this game for Liverpool wasn't quite as important as it was for United, or because it just seemed like United had that little bit of extra desire than Liverpool did.
I mean, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be an important game for Liverpool, right? Manchester United are, especially after this result,
Yeah.
Are in a better position to qualify for top four than Liverpool is, right?
Right.
Manchester United have a 9-point cushion between them and Chelsea. Liverpool only have a 4-point cushion between them and Chelsea. So, if they didn't take it seriously, then you gotta start asking questions about the player and the manager. I just think that after the Champions League results over the week, maybe Liverpool were kind of thinking about that, and they weren't quite preparing for this game in the way that they should have been. But I don't think that a Liverpool team would ever take a game like this, not seriously.
Right. Yeah, agreed there. So that's Man United Liverpool. That's 2-1. And there's quite a bit more relegation movement once again, as usual. So let's go to Huddersfield and Swansea, 0-0. Swansea had an extremely early red card in this game, when Jordan Ayew was sent off in the 11th minute. This is the earliest dismissal of the season. They held on. The game went 0-0. What does this mean for these two sides as far as their hopes for staying up?
It's not too bad of a result for both of them. So they both get a point from this game, which takes them both up to 31 points, which still leaves 5 teams below them, of course.
Right.
And they're both 4 points above Crystal Palace, so in 18th place. So they still have a little bit of a cushion. Obviously, they both need to be careful. They both need to pick up more points in order to avoid relegation. But you got to say, it was there for the taking for Huddersfield Town, right? With Swansea having 10 men, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah, Huddersfield had 82% possession in this game, and they just could not get the goal. Swansea didn't have a single shot. This game, it doesn't hurt Huddersfield too much because of the other results, but at the same time, it's just like they could have had a 5-point cushion on Crystal Palace instead of a 4-point cushion that they have.
Right.
Or a 6-point cushion. Excuse me. But at this point, it's an okay result, but they're going to need to pick up that win that they could have had today somewhere else down the line. So I think it's just more of a missed opportunity there. And as far as Swansea, that's a really good result. To survive 80 minutes with 10 men is quite good.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's an interesting 0-0 that we had this past week. Other than that, we have some other interesting results. A lot of high-scoring games. We have West Brom 1, Leicester 4. West Brom came into this game and they looked all right away. They scored in the 8th minute with Rondon, but they could not keep it. They just got absolutely smashed after that. And the game ended 4-1, obviously. But this has, if it wasn't already confirmed that they're going down, this is they're going down. Yeah, definitely. I think now, they're 8 points off of getting out of the relegation zone at this point. 7 points behind the team above them, right? Stoke and Crystal Palace, both on 27. So things
things are in. I mean, we have to say goodbye basically to West Brom.
Yeah.
They're not going to be around much longer. So, I mean, in light of that, Hugh, like, what is West Brom? What should West Brom like do for the rest of the season, right? Because barring a miracle, they're going down. So, like, how does the team like approach that?
Yeah, that's got to be tough. How do you motivate your players to still go out and win games? Um, you know, I think you could use this time maybe as a little bit of a youth development time. Give minutes to guys that don't necessarily get regular Premier League minutes. I definitely play guys that you expect to keep for next year. And yeah, just get ready to have a fight for your life in the championship. Yeah, I think you got to keep going. You got to keep trying to get results for your fan base, because you want to take as many fans as you can with you into the championship. And like you said, there is still that 1% chance that they could get out. So you got to get your fans to believe somehow.
Yeah. Well, it's not confirmed yet, but the signs are that we have to let go to West Brom. So
yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, and Leicester moves to 40 points on the season. They're up to eighth place now. Does eighth place mean Europa League or no? It's just...
I don't think so.
I think it's 5, 6, and 7.
I believe it's 5th and 6th, and then I'm not sure if it's 7th or if it's also 7th, depending on how... Well, I guess if Manchester City won the Capital One Cup, then it might also be 7th, yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so Leicester doing quite well, as we kind of expected. They had that really bad start to the season, but they've found really good consistency. And, Vardy scoring again, Mahrez is scoring again. Yeah, do you think Vardy and Mahrez are going to stick around for another season?
Honestly, I thought that they would probably both leave after Leicester won the title, and they didn't. So, I mean, at this point, I have no idea. I don't know. I really thought that Riyad Mahrez was going to go to Arsenal the season after they won, and surprise, surprise, he stuck around. So I think maybe he does want to get out. I don't know where he would go at this point. But I think he's more likely to leave than Jamie Vardy. I don't think Jamie Vardy is going to leave.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Other results that we have from this past weekend, we have Everton 2, Brighton 0. Segtosin, once again, getting on the score sheet. Then we have a red card from Anthony Knockart as well. Everton finally, getting a decent result. They move back up to 9th place on 37 points. Brighton go down to 11th, but they have 34 points, so they're pretty comfortable still at this point. Everton's kind of, it's tough to say for them because they're very inconsistent. Recently they get a loss, they get a bad draw, they get a win that they should win. These are the kind of games like 2-0 over Brighton. This is what we expect from Everton, right? Like, should we lower our standard of Everton, or should we hold them to the standard of 1, their money, 2, the players they have, and 3, this is a big club.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possibly understandable if you look at maybe some changes that have been made in the Everton squad. Obviously, losing Lukaku and the 20-plus goals that he scored for them last season wasn't great. Mm-hmm. But they brought in other people, right? Other goal scorers. I mean, I think their squad's pretty good. But they got the result this week, right? And you can only kind of beat the team that's in front of you, right? Which they did this week. So that's good. I think um, I think Everton just need to like focus on getting results, like you said, getting results against teams that we expect them to beat, right? But also think about like if I was their manager, I would be thinking about like how can I take some of our younger players and try to make them better, right? Because I think they have a lot of really good
Right.
young talent in the squad, which is maybe part of the reason why they've been underperforming a little bit is because when you have players who are a little bit more inexperienced,
Mm.
it makes it more difficult to get certain results. So if I was them, I would focus on trying to make players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin better, right? Because I think he could be a really good player for them in the future, and he could like pull Everton into the big six, the big seven, whatever race, right? So I think that would be a good plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed there. Um, yeah, and then for Brighton, this takes them down to 34th, or 34 points, sorry, and 11th place. Uh, I think, maybe maybe two more wins. Two wins for sure, I think they stay up. One, maybe it'll be close. But yeah, I think they can pull out two more wins throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, yeah. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. Um, a team that definitely is not safe at this point. Southampton lost 3-0 to Newcastle this week. Um,
Mm.
yeah, this is. I mean, they have to make a change now, right? I mean, they have to.
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. Like, at what point does making a change not help them, right? Because there's only 8 games left in the season, right? So, if they fire him right now and get a new manager tomorrow, that new manager will be taking the club through the last 8 games of the season. And if he takes the first 2 or 3 games to kind of get adjusted to the club, right, which is usually what we give sort of new managers in relegation fights, then essentially that leaves Southampton with 5 or 6 games to get out of the relegation zone, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, they have about 7 games or 8 games to win. Probably, you'd say 4 to be for sure safe, 3 to have like a good chance.
Right, right.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
just don't know.
do
Again,
you think a new manager could do that?
maybe. I mean, I don't have faith in Pellegrino to do it. Like, if I'm a Southampton fan, I would be like, you know, I would almost throw the dice just because I wouldn't trust Pellegrino to get. I mean, do you really trust Pellegrino to get 3 or 4 wins out of the last 7 or 8 games?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he can do that either.
Yeah,
So then
exactly.
it becomes for Southampton, like which one of those not very great options do you go with?
Right. Yeah. That's tough to say, and that's hard for for Southampton. But I think this is kind of what I mean. You reap what you sow, and they didn't fire him when they should have a long time ago. Um, I think I don't think they should have appointed him in the first place. I think they had a good manager last season. You know, I think they finished 8th place last season. They were in the EFL Cup final. They probably should have won that game, to be honest. And they're like, yeah, we want to take another step, so we'll hire Pellegrino, and they've taken infinite steps backwards since then. Um,
Yeah,
I don't understand the appointment of him in the first place, but yeah, I think Southampton is kind of getting what they deserve by not firing him much earlier.
yeah, yeah. I would definitely, yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, I Southampton. I think people used to kind of laud them as like a standout mid-table team, right? As this team that, plays a more attractive style of football, and they develop young players, and they do what they have to do to survive while also entertaining the fans. And now it just seems like that was a lifetime ago, right? The football has gotten so bad at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty awful. Yeah, so that's that game. We have another 3-0 result. Burnley 3, West Ham United 0. And in this game, the West Ham fans sort of lost it. Yeah, so in the 66th minute, Burnley went ahead on an Ashley Barnes goal. And when this happened, some of the West Ham fans did not take a liking to it. There was sort of riots where a mob of West Ham fans sort of went in front of the director's box and started, screaming and, middle fingers and, the whole shebang. And then fans ran onto the pitch, tried to, mess with Mark Noble, to try to take the corner flag and plant it in the middle of the field as sort of an act of defiance against the upper management of West Ham. And, things are sort of not looking good for West Ham right now. 3 consecutive losses. 4 out of their last 5 have been losses. They're sitting 3 points above the relegation zone right now in 16th. And they just lost 3-0 to Burnley. I mean, it seems like, the house is crumbling at West Ham.
Yeah, it is. And, I mean, I think there was a lot of hope for West Ham fans when they moved into the London Stadium. Initially, right, there were some people who were concerned about, it wasn't very close to the pitch, right, and it wasn't a stadium that was designed for soccer games to take place there.
Right. Yeah.
So there was a little bit of concern about that, but I mean, things haven't been going well for West Ham this season, right? And they didn't really go well for West Ham last season. I mean, like, what do you think is the thing that's upsetting the West Ham fans the most? Is it that they're so close to the relegation zone, or is it that 2 seasons ago West Ham were in 7th place, 6th place, 8th place, in the upper half of the table, and now they've fallen all the way down?
Yeah, I think it's more of that. The second thing you said, I think a few seasons ago, they had Payet, they had this good attacking style. They were in their old stadium. They were in 6th place for a majority of the season, and they were doing very well. I think that they've just taken, sort of like Southampton, they've just taken many, many steps backwards, and I think the fans are just really upset about that. I would not be surprised if they moved out of the London Stadium within the next few years. Like you said, it's not a very good atmosphere. It's very far away from the pitch. And the fans are just not happy, and I don't blame them. Obviously, their actions are not condoned, and I'm sure they will receive the punishment they deserve for their actions. But you also have to feel for the players as well, too. Mark Noble sort of lost it as well when he went and shoved the fan over as the club captain.
There will probably be some repercussions for that as well.
Things are just not...
Which is, I mean...
They're just not looking
It's not good for West Ham as they're, trying to avoid relegation,
right.
So...
Yeah.
I mean, there's also been a lot of public criticism of the way that West Ham sort of acquired the London Stadium. People sort of feel like they got an unbelievably favorable deal with that, and they did get a really, really good deal with that. So I think some people, maybe West Ham fans are sort of tired of hearing about how it's not fair that they got a stadium for free.
Right.
even though they feel like it's a bad stadium, right?
Right.
It's not nearly as good as the one that they gave up. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. How do you rate then their chances for staying up? They're 3 points above the relegation zone now. Um, Probably need 3 wins, maybe.
Yeah, 3 wins or maybe a couple wins and a couple of draws will probably do the trick. I think their chances of staying up are okay, only because I think it is more likely. To me, I think it is more likely that Southampton will go down. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah,
Yeah. Out of the bottom five, I mean, obviously West Brom is going down. So we'll say out of the other four at the bottom, you know, West Ham, Southampton, Crystal Palace, and Stoke. Which two of those do you think is most likely to go down?
I don't want to say Crystal Palace because I think Roy Hodgson has been a little bit unfortunate with some of the results that he's gotten recently.
Mm-hmm.
And they played a lot of really difficult games recently too. They had to play Manchester United. They had to play Tottenham. So I think Crystal Palace will get out. So I'm going to say that I think Southampton and Stoke will both go down with West Brom.
Southampton and Stoke. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think honestly, yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that's sad for Stoke and for West Brom because they've been like consistent, really good Premier League clubs. And for Southampton,
Mm-hmm.
this is one of the biggest clubs in the Prem. You have to say this might. I mean, they're probably around on par with the size of club that Everton is, maybe a little bit less. And we're going to see a big club go down. And like we said in previous episodes, we've seen bigger clubs go down than Southampton and never return. So
Yeah, yeah, and that's unfortunate. And also, I mean, Crystal Palace have in their game this weekend they played against Chelsea, right?
mm-hmm.
They have Wilfred Zaha, who's sort of finishing up recovery off of an injury, right?
Right.
So he came on in the second half in this game. So I think that'll be a boost for their chances as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So for that game, Chelsea won 2-1 against Crystal Palace. They're within 2 points of fourth place. Oh no, sorry, that was before Tottenham had played their game. Sorry about that. Yeah, so they get a win. They haven't had a win in a while. They're still 4 points behind fourth place. Yeah, I mean this is a good win for Chelsea, but I still don't think they're going to finish top four.
Yeah, it's looking increasingly unlikely that that's going to happen. I mean, there's been sort of talk, I guess, since I guess Christmas time, really, that Antonio Conte's checked out as Chelsea manager, right? I mean, do you think that that's true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I would be surprised if Conte stuck around for another year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that result still leaves Chelsea 4 points behind Liverpool. But obviously Willian scored another goal in this game. So I mean he's been on form lately.
Yeah, he's been doing really well.
So that's
and
good.
Especially going into the Barcelona game as well, I think it's important for Willian to stay on form. He scored last time against Barcelona, and I think he looks probably like the most likely to nick a goal at the Camp Nou. So
yeah.
Let's talk about Hazard for a second. Is Eden Hazard overrated? I'm just gonna ask it. Is Eden Hazard overrated?
I think yes, but only by like a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think people, he's a very, very good player. Eden Hazard is a very good player, and I don't, I certainly don't doubt that, right? But he, I think people just maybe give him a little bit too much credit, or they think that he's like, that when he doesn't score, it's not because he's not good enough, right? Or if he can't get a goal, it's some external factor, right? And
Right.
maybe sometimes that's true, but Eden Hazard is not entitled to a goal in every game that he plays, and I sometimes think that people talk about him in that manner. He is a very good player, right? And we know that he can, for a wide player, he can easily get 15 goals in a season, right? We've seen him put up similar numbers in the past, so I think he's only just a little bit if he is
Hello?
overrated.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey,
Yeah, I was
sorry about
just
that.
finishing up that thought about Eden Hazard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think, he obviously is a fantastic player. But I think that consistency week in, week out as a game changer is just not there. There are some weeks where he looks fantastic and he, drags a game by himself, but I think he should, if he is as good as people say, he should be consistently doing that week in and week out.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all the games from Saturday. And then on Sunday we have two games: Arsenal 3, Watford 0, another 3-0 win. Yeah, this is a good result for Arsenal. They had a good result midweek in the Europa League, winning 2-1 at AC Milan. Not an easy place to go and win, but they did. Yeah, things are looking a little bit better now for Arsenal.
Yeah, they ended their losing streak this week, so I mean that's good. They had goals obviously from some important players this week as well. I think I might have just lost Hugh again. Hugh, are you still here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, they had important goals from some people who are new to the team, right? From Aubameyang, from Mkhitaryan. So this is a good result for them. Obviously, we've made our feelings about Arsenal known. We think that Arsene Wenger has to go still, and I think if Arsenal win the rest of the games the whole season, I would still say Arsene Wenger has to go. But
Yeah.
it's still a good win for Arsenal.
Yeah, a win's a win, and I think they're not going to complain too much about that. But yeah, I think Wenger still has to go after the season's over. Yeah, he has to go. Otherwise, we have Tottenham 4, Bournemouth 1. Tottenham just keep on rolling after their Champions League disappointment, and we kind of touched on it in the last episode, which still having technical difficulties getting the audio up. But yeah, I think this Tottenham losing in the Champions League is not good news for Chelsea and for their top 4 hopes. Yeah, I think Tottenham's really going to turn it on, and looks like they did for this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they did. I mean, this was an interesting game. I got to watch this whole game, and so I mean, Bournemouth scored first off of a goal from Junior Stanislas, but then Tottenham come back, ultimately win the game 4-1. Goals from Dele Alli. Heung-min Son gets even more goals to add to his amazing recent form. And then Serge Aurier adds another one in stoppage time. So, yeah, Tottenham definitely, I think, are going to pick up the performances for the rest of the season. So I definitely think that that'll make it even more difficult for Chelsea. And I mean, obviously, you kind of see that in their position in the league table right now, right? They finally jumped Liverpool, who they were trailing for such a long time this season. And I think part of that is because they're bringing their focus back to the Premier League. They sort of accepted that, the Champions League's not going to happen this season. So, they're going to make sure they can go at it again next year.
Yeah, exactly. Well done to Tottenham in that aspect. Yeah, so we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll go to our Of the Week series and also our Football 20 questions. So we'll be back.
Welcome back, everybody. For the second part of the podcast, we're just going to finish up here with our Goal of the Week series and with Football 20 questions. So, Hugh, what is your goal of the week?
Well, my goal of the week and my player of the week are the same player, and that is Marcus Rashford. His first goal, brilliant chop to get inside, and just an emphatic finish as well, lifting up the back of the net. Just absolutely smashed it in. Marcus Rashford.
My goal of the week, I decided to go with Dele Alli's goal against Bournemouth. I thought it was a pretty, it was a good goal. It wasn't super maybe attractive on the eye, but I think it was like it encapsulated Dele Alli's performance in that game, where he is my player of the week actually, because he kind of led Tottenham back in that game, right? I mean, they went down, and for most of the first half, I thought Bournemouth looked really good, and I thought, man, Bournemouth are going to get something out of this game. But of course they didn't, and that's Dele Alli's, if you're a Bournemouth fan, that's Dele Alli's fault. If you're a Tottenham fan, you think good for him. But he really kind of led the team back into this game, so
Yeah.
he's my goal of the week and player of the week.
Yeah. Absolutely. He's done very well, for sure. What's your story of the week?
My story of the week is that apparently Steven Pienaar, who, yeah, where do you think this is going? So apparently, Steven Pienaar says that he, quotes, fondly remembers denying Manchester United the title when he scored a goal for Everton that ultimately made it impossible for Manchester United to win the title. So he announced his retirement earlier this month. After a pretty long career, he spent 18 years in his European career, which he played in the Netherlands, he played in Germany, obviously he played in England as well. But he said that scoring against Manchester United in the 2011-2012 season was one of his favorites, even his favorite maybe, after the 4-4 draw. So after they brought it back to win a 4-4 draw.
Yes, I remember that.
That obviously made it impossible for Manchester United to win the title that season after they drew that game. So, well, not impossible, but
it eventually led to it.
Meant that. Yeah, it put the ball in City's court, and so he's apparently very proud of that. So I just thought that was a funny quote, because I wonder, like what are some other players' like favorite moments of their career? Like, what is Ronaldo's favorite moment? Right? What do you think Ronaldo's favorite moment is?
Yeah, maybe scoring, like, I don't know. It might be scoring that header in the 2008 Champions League final, maybe. Maybe winning the Ballon d'Or. Maybe actually probably winning the Euros for Ronaldo, I would think.
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what his favorite competition is, or like, if you're Messi, right? Like, what's your favorite moment? Would it be the first time you won the Champions League, or the second time you won the Champions League? Like,
right.
Steven Pienaar hasn't had the most illustrious career compared to some other people, but I just think it's fun to think about. If you were this person, like, what would you think their best moment is? So,
right.
What is your story of the week, Hugh?
My story of the week is one that's it's a bit nasty. It's not particularly great, but Real Madrid played Eibar this past week and won 2-1. But during the course of this game, Sergio Ramos ran off of the field and straight into the locker room, just unexpectedly, just went. And everyone was like, what in the world? What happened? And then, like, a few minutes later, he just comes running back onto the pitch and just continues playing. Like, nothing happened. The press asked Zinedine Zidane what happened. And apparently, Sergio Ramos pooped himself a bit during the game and had to go finish his business, get a change of shorts, and come back onto the pitch. I don't understand how that's possible, but apparently that's what happened. So, yeah. Sergio Ramos needs to...
Well, you
when I heard this...
You know what they say about A-Bar,
Yeah.
Q. They're a very terrifying team, right?
Right. I just... Yeah. When I saw this story, I couldn't believe it, but apparently, yeah, that's what Zidane said. So, very interesting there. Yeah. Just another...
Do you think that, though, like, do you think that's actually what happened? Or, like, I almost imagine, like, Zidane, like, it was something even more embarrassing, and so Zidane was just, like, made that up.
Maybe. I
don't
have
know.
no idea. That's just the quote that is Zidane on why Sergio Ramos left the field unexpectedly versus Ibar. So, yeah, no idea, but...
Okay, well...
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Just another thing of note, Marcus Rashford, when he scored his double this week in the Premier League, is the first time, surprisingly, I didn't even know this either, this is the first time since his debut against Arsenal that he scored more than one goal in the Premier League in one game.
Yeah. Well, he has both of his doubles against two of Manchester United's most hated rivals, so...
Exactly.
You know, not bad teams to score doubles against.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So now on to our Football 20 questions, where I believe you are guessing for me this week.
Yes, I think that is correct.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I have my thing, and I'm ready to go.
Okay. Is your thing a person?
Yes.
Okay. Is this person a player?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it is a player. Does this player play for a team in one of Europe's top 5 leagues?
They do not.
Q?
They do not.
They do not. Okay. So then I wonder... Oh, this is very interesting. Okay. Does this player play in a European league?
Yes.
Yes, they do. Okay. So they do play in a European league, but not in one of the top 5. Okay. So I think I should try to narrow this down to league, and then I can try to figure out which team it is. Does this player Okay. Does this player play in a league that had a team in the Champions League this season?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good question.
So that means that they're not playing for like some obscure league or something, right? So they're not in one of the top 5 leagues. So I suspect that this person plays in either the Netherlands or Portugal or Russia. Okay. So does this player play in the Portuguese league?
No, they do not.
Okay. Does this player play in the Russian league?
No, they do not.
Okay. Does this player play for the Dutch league?
No.
Okay. So, of the teams remaining here, in the Champions League. So they play. I feel like. Okay. Does this player play in the Ukrainian league?
The Ukrainian league?
Yes.
No, not in the Ukrainian league.
Okay. So, this is difficult. I can't. I'm struggling to narrow it down to league here, listeners. There's actually quite a lot of leagues that are represented here in the Champions League. So I'm just going to assume that it's not Apoel because I can't even remember what country they're from right now. So I'm gonna assume it's not Besiktas either because I don't want it to be them. Or Maribor. Okay, does this player play in the Greek league?
Sorry, what was the question?
Does the player play in the Greek league?
No, they do not play in the Greek league. And just so you know, the league that this person plays in, they did have a team represented in the Champions League, but he does not play for that team or those teams.
Yes. Yeah. Right. I'm just
Okay.
I'm just going through the Champions League teams here and trying to figure out which one it could be. Although, I mean, I guess technically, okay. Do they play for a Scottish team?
A Turkish team?
I'm sorry?
What did you say?
A Scottish team. A Scottish team.
Scottish team. No, they do not.
Okay. Do they play for a Turkish team?
Yes, they do.
Yes. Okay. So, now I have to figure out. See, I don't know. Okay. Maybe I should assume that, I don't know. I don't even, who do I even know that's like in the Turkish league? Oh my. Okay. Let me look at the table here. Okay. Now that I look at the Turkish league, I feel like I might know who it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Does this player play for Galatasaray?
No, they do not.
Oh, they don't.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really interesting. So they don't play for Galatasaray. Then, Okay. Does this player play for Besiktas?
No.
Okay. Does this player play for Fenerbahce?
No. So they don't play for any of the big ones.
Oh my goodness. I honestly don't think I know anybody who plays for any other teams in this league.
I'll say this. I'll give you a little bit of something. He doesn't play for a big team, and the team is not doing very good, but he is a big name player.
I'm sorry? I missed the end of that.
That's okay. I was just saying the team is not very good, and the team's not very big, but he is a big player.
Oh, dear. The team is not a very big team. I don't know anybody who plays for any of these teams in like the bottom of this table.
I wouldn't know anyone other than this guy.
All of the teams, literally, listeners, if you're not familiar with Turkish football, most of the teams in this league end in "por." Yes. Kanayaspor, Osmanlispor, Antalyaspor, I don't know if I'm even pronouncing these correctly. Okay. According to Turkish League, I don't know. I can't even narrow this down to team. This is super difficult. Okay. Does this person play for a team that is in the bottom 5 teams
Yes.
in the Turkish League?
Yes, they're in the bottom 5.
Yes, so they do play for the bottom 5. Okay. Is this team currently in the bottom 3 in the Turkish League?
Sorry, what was the question?
Does this player play for a team that's in the bottom 3 in the Turkish League?
Yes.
They play for a team in the bottom 3?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Okay, so is this team currently in 16th place?
No, they're not in 16th place.
Is the team that the player plays for in 16th place?
No, they're not.
Okay. Is the team that this player plays for in 17th place?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So that means they play for Konyaspor. Konya, okay.
I think you have.
I'm gonna
two
use
or
Google
one
here
question
and look
left.
up who. Oh dear. Okay. Let me look at their roster. Oh, okay. Is it Samuel Eto'o?
Yes, it is.
Is that the player?
Yes, it is.
Oh. Oh my goodness. Gee, wow. That was difficult.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Samuel Eto'o played for them.
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought he was retired.
I
but
thought he retired. I honestly
earlier this
thought he
week
retired.
Yeah, it was his birthday earlier this week, so yeah. There
Wow.
it is.
Well, I hope he doesn't get relegated.
Yeah, I hope not.
I imagine that life in the second tier of Turkish football is not great.
Yeah, probably not.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps things up for this week. Do you have anything else you want to talk about, Hugh?
Nah, I think that's about it.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for listening, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any feedback, you can always contact us on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook. Send us your emails to footballfanaticsweekly@gmail.com. Like, rate, review the podcast, all that stuff. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.